Hey guys, Constance here from Cosmopolitan Cornbread. So I am bringing you into the kitchen today to make dinner with me. I am making a chicken soup that I've been making, gosh, for years. It's called winter chicken soup or winter chicken stew. And it is just packed full with some veggies, and there's beans and potatoes and lots of seasoning, lots of flavor, and it's just a delicious soup. So that's what I'm going to make today. Alright, so to begin, I'm going to need some onion, and this onion is massive. It's like the size of a grapefruit. So I'm only going to use half of this. And you can use yellow onions, white onions, whatever you got. It'll work just fine. I'm using a red onion because that's just what I had in the pantry today. And we're just gonna dice this up. Look at all that beautiful red onion. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to add just some cooking oil to my soup pot here, my Dutch oven. And I'm using coconut oil, about a tablespoon or so. Get the stove going. I'm going to toss in the diced onion. I'm just going to let this start cooking together, kind of softening up. And while it's doing that, I'm going to peel and chop up some carrots. And normally I would put in celery, but the celery that just came home from the grocery store today did not look very good. And so I'm just going to omit that for today. But normally I would put in a couple stalks of diced up celery. Alright, so I had to turn the lights on because it's a bit overcast out there today, a little bit dark in here. So my onion is looking nice and tender there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up 2 cans, about 28 to 30 ounces altogether of diced tomatoes. And I'm going to add these into my soup pot here. Okay, then I'm going to need 4 cups of chicken broth. Chicken broth or vegetable broth, or chicken stock, vegetable stock. Honestly, any of those will work just fine when it comes to this soup. Pour that in. I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. Now I'm going to add in some seasonings. I've got some thyme here. I'm going to put in about a teaspoon of that. A teaspoon of oregano. A teaspoon of basil. And I've got some purple basil here, which works just as well as the Genovese basil. I do like to break off those stems though. And so I just dry the leaves whole and then just crush them when I put them in my ingredients. Just makes my life easy. It smells so good. Okay. A little bit of black pepper. I'm gonna actually turn this heat up, let that start getting going. And some salt, about a half a teaspoon of each of those too. And then finally 2 bay leaves. Oh, well, I actually put 3 in. That won't hurt anything. Back. Then I've got 4 cloves of minced garlic here. Alright, so I've got my soup here coming up just to a boil, and then the last thing I'm going to put in right now is about 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken breasts. And I'm just going to take my chicken breasts and just nestle them down into the soup, and I'm just going to put them in there whole. Alright, so my liquid is pretty much up to a boil. I'm going to reduce this down to kind of like a high simmer, low medium temperature. Toss a lid on, and I'm just going to let the broth and the seasonings and the chicken and everything just kind of cook together on low for about 40 minutes, and that chicken will get nice and tender. And while it's doing that, I will kind of tidy up a little bit, and then when it's just about ready, I'm going to add in my carrots. I will add in some diced potatoes and a couple of other things right at the very end. So for now, I'm just going to set my timer. And tidy up a bit. the stew has been cooking over here for the 40 minutes. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the cooked chicken breasts here from the soup using a pair of tongs. And I'm going to set them here on a cutting board and shred the chicken. Now, you could actually let this cook longer if you want. It's just up to you, but 40 minutes usually does the trick. I'm also going to go ahead and add in my cubed carrots as well as some cubed potatoes. Give those a stir. Now these are going to cook for about 15 to 20 minutes or until the vegetables are just fork tender. So we'll bring that up to a boil, let that get going, grab a fork and knife and start shredding up this chicken. And then of course as I get it shredded, I'll just put it right back into the pot with the soup. So the chicken is back in the pot with the potatoes and the carrots and all the rest of that. And so while those are cooking, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drain and rinse 2 cans of beans. First I am using kidney beans, just some red kidney beans, light or dark red, doesn't really matter. And then I'm also using a can of cannellini beans, which are basically kind of like a white kidney bean. And so it'll be 1 can, 15-ounce can, or yeah, 15-ounce can of each of these. So I'm going to go ahead and drain these. Alright, so most of you know that I'm actually kind of eating a low-carb diet right now, and so because I've already added potatoes to this soup, I don't want to consume any more carbs than I already will be. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to scoop out a bowl of the soup for myself before I add the beans, because the beans are actually just going to be heating through. They're already cooked because they came out of a can. So I will just go ahead and ladle out a bowl of the soup, sans the beans, for myself, and then the rest of the family can eat the soup with the beans. Now for the final touch for this soup, what I like to do, and this is totally optional, but I like to put a little sprinkle of Parmesan cheese on top. Alright, so that is how you make my winter chicken stew, and as always there is a printable version of this recipe on my website, cosmopolitancornbread.com, and if you are interested in making this, I will put a link to that down below where you can save it on Pinterest or you can print it out for your recipe binder. So thanks for joining me here again in the homestead kitchen. My name is Constance from Cosmopolitan Cornbread, and I'll talk to you all next time.